In this video, I'm going to talk about the return keyword. We're going to use this in several functions. Return is used by functions to provide a value back to the person using that function. So think about a square root function. When you use the square root function, you're expecting a value back, and that's the square root of some number. How does a function provide that number back to the caller? Using the return keyword. So I've made a function here called sum, and it takes 1, 3, and 5 as its parameters here, and here's the actual function. So the function is, it takes 3 parameters, an integer called a, an integer called b, and an integer called c. So this function call up here will drop a 1 in place of a, the 3 will come in place of b, and the 5 will come in place of c. So let me print out the sum of those 3 values here. Console.writeLine, the sum is a plus b plus c, semicolon. And I'm putting the parentheses around there so it doesn't print out like 1, 3, 5 all stuck onto the end of that. Okay. That's great. So let's run this and see what it does. I'm going to put a breakpoint using F9 on line, or whatever line that is, and I'll put a breakpoint here, and I'll run this program, and we'll see what happens. Hello, there we go. Okay, so there's our breakpoint. We're going to call the sum function and drop in 1 as the first parameter, so that'll come in as the A, 3 will come in as the B, and the 5 will get dropped in place of C. So now I'm going to step into the function using F11, and now I'm down in this function, and I'm going to keep going using F10, and you can see the A is 1, B is 3, and 5 is C. All right, so now I'm going to print that out, and it prints out the sum is 9. I can see that down here in the debug panel, and I'll keep going. So it prints out the sum is 9. Awesome. We didn't really use our keyword return there, though, so let's modify our sum function to return a value rather than just print it out. So let's make our sum function so that it gives us back a value. We give it some inputs, it gives us an output. So I'm going to make a variable here called s for sum, and I'm not sure why that's like all highlighted like that. Now, there's an error here. It says that the sum function cannot convert void to int. What does that mean? Well, we're trying to use the sum function to get a value, like add up these 3 numbers and give us the result. So to do that, we have to change our void function to be an int function. Void means it doesn't return anything, it returns nothing. So we want our function to return an integer. So let's use the return keyword. Return will now we don't need these parentheses. There. Now we can return A plus B plus C. So let's run this again. Oh, and then up here, let's console.it's CW tab. The sum is S. All right, let's run it. There we go. And we run. All right, so there's our sum function. We're going to drop in 1, 3, and 5. We'll step in there, and now we're going to add them all up. I'll add 1, 3, and 5 together, and the sum is still going to be 9, but rather than printing it out, we're going to return that. We're throwing that value back up as an output. So now our sum function returned a value of 9, and let's run that statement, and you can see S is now 9. So this single equal sign means evaluate the expression on the right and assign it to the target variable on the left. So S is now 9, and we print this out. So, and now if I run that, we should see the same thing. It says the sum is 9 on our console window. Okay, now there's one more place where you can use return, and you don't, if your function is void, you can still use the return keyword, but you just don't supply a value. So in this case, return is used to just bail right out of the function. So if you've hit some sort of case where you've found the thing you're looking for, or you've detected an error and you just want to bail out of your function right here, right now, and not do anything else, then that is what the return keyword will do for you. So let's watch this. Console.WriteLine hello. Visual Studio will flag this as an error because it says unreachable code detected. Why is this code unreachable? Because when this function runs, it's going to hit the return statement and immediately bail out, immediately quit, and jump back to where the program was, where this function was called from. So return is a way of exiting a function that doesn't return a particular value. If this thing is an integer, you have to return an integer. If this thing is a double, you have to return a double. If this thing's a string, you have to return a string. If this thing is void, you can just return, and that will bail you out of the function. Some people would consider it bad style to return right out of a function. I can live with it. Imagine that there's a case where you've detected an error message, and like let's say these numbers all have to be positive or something like that. So if A is less than 0, or B is less than 0, or C is less than 0, then we could print out an error message. Values must be positive or something. Must be positive. And then now we're done. We've detected an error condition. We don't want to return a value, right? So, this is still a void function. So this would bail out, otherwise print, no, it's not print, console.WriteLine, A plus B plus C. So return is a way of exiting a function if you've detected that you don't have any work to do, or you can't do any more work or something like that. So there you go. That's the return keyword used in a void function. Normally return is used for returning a value, some object, to the person using it. There's a functions take input and they return out. They can return output. That output is returned or sent back to the caller via the return keyword. So hopefully that helps you kind of visualize what that return keyword does and when you would use it and why you would need it.